When Sarah and Tom Bennett bought the house on Deep Hollow Road, it felt like a dream. A beautiful two-story Victorian at the edge of a forgotten forest, ridiculously cheap for its size. The realtor gave vague answers when asked why it sat unsold for over a decade. Old houses have stories, she said, forcing a smile. From the first night, the air inside the house felt heavy, not moldy, more like someone was watching. They wrote it off as nerves. A new place, new sounds. Still, Sarah couldn't shake the unease. The walls creaked as if they were breathing. Their dog, Toby, refused to go upstairs and growled at nothing. 3 days in, Sarah found a small locked door under the stairs. It wasn't in the floor plan. Curious, she asked Tom, but he hadn't noticed it either. The it was painted the same color as the wall, nearly invisible. A rusted latch kept it sealed. That night, she dreamed of a child whispering from behind the door, "Don't open it. He's still hungry." By the end of the week, Sarah couldn't resist. While Tom was out, she fetched a crowbar and forced the latch open. The door creaked and revealed a narrow staircase descending into darkness. It wasn't a basement. They had already explored the actual basement. This was something else. The air that poured out was freezing and foul, like rotting meat. She turned on her phone's flashlight. The stairs ended after about 10 steps in a tiny stone room. On the wall were scratch marks and what looked like old children's drawings, crude figures, all with hollow eyes and gaping mouths. In the center of the room was a child-sized chair facing the wall. Suddenly, a whisper echoed, "Close it." She spun around. No. Sarah fled, slamming the door shut and pushing a bookshelf in front of it. That night, the whispers returned, not in dreams this time. She and Tom both heard them. "Let me out." Tom didn't believe her about the whispers, blaming stress and imagination, but he admitted the door was odd. He agreed to check it out the next morning. That night, Sarah explored the attic and found a dusty trunk filled with old belongings, dolls, clothes, and a leather-bound diary. It belonged to a girl named Annabelle Hayes, dated 1926. The entries were disturbing. At first, normal stuff, school, chores, friends, but by mid-June the tone shifted. She wrote of him, a man in the walls who told her secrets. Her drawings mirrored the ones in the hidden room, wide eyes, open mouths. "Mama says the door must stay shut, but he calls me. He tells me things about Papa. He's not lying. Papa really did hurt her," Mama cried after. The final entry read, "I'm not afraid anymore. I'll let him out. He promised I'll never be alone again." Tom went into the secret room the next morning. Sarah stayed behind, heart pounding. He came back pale and silent. "It's not just a room," he said. "There's something behind the wall." He had touched the stones and felt one shift. Behind it was a gap, and in that gap was what looked like a sack, stitched shut with wire. When he tugged it, the sack twitched. They both agreed not to go back down there. That night, the smell started, earthy, damp, like fresh dug soil and decayed. It wafted up through the vents. Toby barked endlessly, staring at the door. At 3:12 a.m., all the lights flickered. Sarah woke to see the bookshelf moved. The door under the stairs was open again. No one had touched it. The next few days were hell. Scratching sounds came from within the walls, rhythmic and frantic. Sarah began to hear faint giggles, like a child playing hide and seek. One morning, they found Toby lying stiff by the door. No wounds, no blood, just dead, eyes wide with terror. Sarah snapped. She screamed at the house, begging it to stop. Tom started drinking. The couple grew distant. When Tom suggested burning the place down, Sarah didn't argue. But something had changed. They weren't allowed to leave. Every time they tried to drive away, the GPS rerouted them back to the house. When they took side roads, the engine died. Even walking didn't work. No matter which direction they walked, they ended up back on Deep Hollow Road. The house had them now. Sarah couldn't take it anymore. She broke into the stone wall behind the secret room while Tom was passed out drunk upstairs. Behind the stones, she found a cavity. Inside was the sack Tom had mentioned. It wasn't a sack. It was a burial shroud, stitched tightly around what was once a child. The bones were small. She screamed and stumbled back, but the moment her fingers touched the fabric, a cold presence flooded the room. The whispers turned to cries. "He made me do it. I didn't want to. I didn't want to." As she fled the room, blood began to seep from the walls, but it wasn't blood. It was black, thick, and pulsing alive. That night, Tom vanished. Sarah searched the house top to bottom but no sign of Tom. Then, at 3:12 a.m., she heard the front door creak open and footsteps echoed. She grabbed a knife and crept downstairs. It was Tom, or what looked like him. His eyes were wrong, too wide, too still. He smiled, but it wasn't real. "I saw him," he whispered. "I understand now." Sarah backed away, heart racing. Tom sat in the middle of the living room and began humming the same tune Sarah had heard in her dreams. A lullaby. Then he started digging into the floorboards with his hands, splinters slicing his fingers open. Blood poured, but he didn't stop as Sarah ran. The attic had changed. Where there had once been boxes and dust, now stood a circle of symbols burned into the floor. Candles lit themselves as Sarah stepped in. A voice filled the room. "I was here before them all. They fed me to keep me quiet, but she let me out." A shape formed in the corner, too tall, a skin like oil, eyes like lanterns in fog. Sarah screamed and ran downstairs, only to find the front door bricked shut. Tom waited at the bottom step. "He's awake now," he said, "and he's hungry." Sarah doesn't remember how she ended up back in the hidden room. Her hands were bleeding, her eyes raw. Tom lay beside the small chair, unmoving. The drawings were fresh now, new, still wet. She sat in the chair. The whisper came again, but this time it wasn't in her ears, it was in her bones. "You will feed me." When the new owners moved in months later, they too found the hidden door, and in the attic, they found a diary. A new one. The first entry? "I can hear him scratching again. I think he's still hungry."